Hello and welcome to College and Beyond, Real Talk with Amour. If you have not already guessed, I am your host, Amour Carthy. Today's episode is sponsored by Education Innovations, where we help guide families through education decisions from college and graduate admissions to life beyond. The purpose of this podcast is to help expose people to what college is like and different careers that they might be interested in. On today's episode, Alise Givens is going to be talking about her journey. And the title of her episode is Born into Legacy, Choosing Your Own Path. So without further ado, let's bring on our special guest. Hey, Alise.
Hi,
Thank you for coming on. What school are you representing?
I'm representing the illustrious Spelman College.
Thank you so much. And what's your classification?
I'm a first year.
Okay, you're a first year. So why do you say
Yeah.
first year instead of freshman? Like you want to spend more time?
Well, yes. A lot of it's just like the thing that we say at Spelman. I don't know. I was new to it when I got there. I thought everybody was just a freshman, but I guess it's because Spelman has like everybody like non-traditional students, and so your first year is very important at Spelman. So it's your like foundation for how your other 4 years will go. And there's a lot of requirements that not only freshmen but first years in general have to take. So I suppose that's why we say first years.
Okay, well, thank you. So, your title of your episode is Born into Legacy, Choosing Your Own Path. What does legacy mean to you?
To me, legacy, well, growing up, it kind of changed meanings as I grew up. So at first, when I was younger, I thought legacy was just something like a continuation of family tradition. So legacy could mean like at school, through like community outreach, just anything that like was continual in my family. And so I didn't really think much of it when it came to schools or anything. My parents in particular, of course, I was always around Spelman and Morehouse because I grew up in Atlanta, that's where they went. But it wasn't necessarily something that was always pushed into me, like drilled into me, like your legacy, your legacy, your legacy. So to me, it was just more of like a like family, not really like the pride part of legacy, but more of like the family part of legacy. So and I guess that meaning hasn't really changed much now that I'm at Spelman.
Hmm.
Obviously I can see the difference in like family legacy and like people who look for legacy as like pride. But I feel like the way I was raised and how I came up, I still view legacy as sort of a family thing and not necessarily like, of course I'm proud of it. Like I'm super proud that like my grandma, my aunts, everybody was here, but it's not something that I'm like, my family's here, I'm better than you. It's like I
Mm.
have a family and now I'm contributing to a bigger family. So
Mm.
that's what I think about legacy.
So, thank you so much for defining legacy. So, you said your mom went to Spelman. Who else went to Spelman in your family?
That's sometimes I still don't know. It took me a while to figure it out. So on my mom's side, my mom, her two sisters, my grandmother, my mom's mom, and her twin sister, and their younger sister went to Spelman, but she didn't complete. And then my grandpa's sister, my mom's dad's sister. That's all. Oh, my cousin. Oh, here we go. My mom's oldest sister, she went to Spelman, and her youngest daughter also went to Spelman. She graduated class of 26. Oh, graduated class of 25 last year. That's, I believe, all from my mom's side as well as far as Spelman. My dad's side, as far as Spelman, his sister, so my
Hmm.
aunt went to Spelman, and then two of his cousins also went. And I think I have a great aunt down the line somewhere that went to Spelman. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know off the top of my head. Um, yeah, so that concludes our Spelman legacy. And then Morehouse, my dad went to Morehouse. My dad's sister's husband went to Morehouse. On my mom's side, my grandpa went to Morehouse. And then my mom's older sister's husband went to Morehouse.
So, you have a Spell House tradition. You
It's
are a Spell House baby. Well, you're not a
Yep.
baby, you know more. Young lady.
Yes. Through and through.
Yes. So, with all of that legacy and tradition at Spelman, did you feel pressure to go to Spelman? Or like, did you hear stories and you're like, oh, like, that's cool. Like, maybe, like, tell me more about that.
Yeah, people ask me that question all the time. And my sister and I, surprisingly, we have different answers to that question.
Hmm.
I believe it's because she's the older sister, so a lot more pressure was put on her.
Oh, you have to tell the people they don't know that your sister goes to.
Yeah. How can I forget? My sister, currently a junior, both at Spelman College, so adding on. But yes, she definitely felt the bulk of the pressure. For me, it wasn't something that, like, my parents were like, "You have to go here, like, it's inevitable, you're going to Spelman." It was more of, like, other people would tell me that as a joke. They're like, "Oh, well, at least, like, you're going to Spelman because your whole family went there." And I'd be like, "Yeah, sure." And then I'd go home, talk to my parents, and they'd be like, "You don't like, it's your decision." But that being said, they always told me their experiences and, how they
Mm,
feel like Spelman and Morehouse in this community helped them. And they introduced me to people who they were with who also shared in that experience. So it was never like I was getting like a negative point of view from these colleges. It was always something positive. But I think my parents, especially entering my senior year of high school, they wanted
mhm,
to make sure that I knew it was my decision.
mm,
Obviously, having my older sister and my older cousin go to Spelman, it took the pressure of upholding the legacy
mhm.
off of me, so then I felt like I really did have a decision because I didn't even know I was going to Spelman until April of my senior year. So that's when I made the decision. So it was really I was really, like, I was taking all my privilege to for them to tell me that it's your decision. I said, "Okay, we're gonna do it my way then if it's my decision."
So, what made you decide to go to Spelman instead of that other place? Or I'm not even gonna ask about other place. All I care about is that you at Spelman.
Yes, of course, repping the number 1 always.
Yes.
So, okay, so transparency, the other school was Georgia Tech. I
Mm.
love everything
Yeah,
about
it's a good
tech.
school
It's
too.
a
Mhm,
great school. It's
mhm,
amazing. It really just came down to the community that I felt like I needed in
mhm,
college because I always have aspired to go beyond undergrad, like to grad school,
mhm,
maybe to get a PhD. So there was always an opportunity for me to go to other places, other schools like Georgia Tech. But let me tell you, there's nothing like Spelman. There's nothing. You get it once. You get it
that's
once.
it.
And because I saw the impact it had on my family and I was able to see my sister currently at the school, I was
Mhm,
just like, "You know what? Yeah, like, I wanna go here. I wanna see what type of woman Spelman makes me to be." And
mhm,
and through that, I think that I can literally get through anything else, go to any other school that I want to
mhm.
go to because I got this foundation at Spelman.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I like what you said though, that you basically have one chance to go to Spelman because it's a college. And so most people don't understand a college, you can only get a 4-year degree. A university, you can get your graduate degree. And you said you are planning to go on to get a graduate degree. And places like tech, you can go get that there. So you said that you wanted this for yourself. What kind of high school did you go to and what was your experience like there? What were the demographics? What was the shift for you going to Spelman?
yeah, I love when people ask me this question
Mhm,
because I think it's very important to talk about getting different perspectives
mhm,
throughout your school life. So all my life, I've gone to private Catholic school. Well,
mhm,
yeah, my high school was a Catholic Christian school in that realm,
mhm,
but they were both predominantly white institutions. And so
mm,
I knew that, especially going into my sophomore year, my freshman year, it was okay because it was a new environment.
mhm,
I'm in high school now. Okay. But then once I started to settle in, I was just like, okay, this is getting real. Like, I'm surrounded by people who don't look like me. I don't really feel supported. And of course, there were a few people like my coaches. I ran track. So my
mhm,
coach, he was a black man.
mhm,
And so we connected on levels that I felt like I wasn't able to connect with my other teachers or other students at the school.
mhm,
And so but entering my junior and senior year, I was just like, all right, I'm ready to go. I can't do it anymore. Like I gotta get out of here. Like
mhm,
I did good for 2
mhm,
years, but then, like, just socially, just there was stuff that I wasn't really connected to in my high school, and I
mhm,
saw my other family members and other friends who were able to be around people who, looked like them, who knew how to support them, and I was just like, "That's something that I want when
mhm,
I'm at school," because school itself, I love to learn, but n nobody
mhm,
wants to be somewhere for 8 hours a day with people who they don't get along with. Like,
mhm,
that's not something that's enjoyable. And so
mhm,
obviously school work comes first, but it also you have to know your mental to know when school isn't gonna come first because socially it's draining or mentally it's draining. And so that's solely the reason why I chose to go to an HBCU. And I think it's interesting because there were people in my class who went through high school who had the same issues as me and they chose to stay at a PWI. And I was like, wow, more power to you. I just know I'm not that person. I couldn't do it. So when it was time to make the decision, I looked at my mom and I was like, I don't know if going to Georgia Tech would be the best option for me because I know I could do well,
Mhm.
but it would take a lot for me to do well if I wasn't in a community of people who I felt I could be comfortable with and who I felt could support me fully.
Yes, support is so important. Thank you for sharing that. So, you did track and you did, well at your high school. And so, are you doing any sports in Spelman? Because usually when you go to Spelman, what happens to the sports? I used to play sports. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Spelman does not have any sports. They have intramurals,
Hmm.
which is, that's a lot of people do it and a lot of people have fun doing it.
Hmm.
And I think that that's something that if you really like to do sports, you can obviously look into. We just added an intramural track team. There's flag football, so it's a lot of fun. For me personally, I after high school, I transferred to just going to the gym and working
Mm,
out, and
okay.
that's also beneficial. Side note, Spelman, only Spelman students, faculty, staff can go in the gym. So you don't have to worry about anybody else going into the gym, and I think that's something that's very, very
I know.
nice,
I
a
am
very nice
jealous.
touch.
I am jealous.
Yeah.
I want to come as
Mhm.
alum.
Yes. Like, look, even alum aren't allowed to come, like,
Like your
even
mama
give
can't come in.
tours. Nope, nobody can go in that gym but students and staff. So, it's great. It's amazing.
So you're keeping healthy like that, so that's good.
Yes.
So, what is your major?
I'm a biology major, pre-med
Mhm,
track, and
mhm.
a minor in psychology.
And what is your ultimate goal?
This has changed a couple of times growing up
Mhm.
and even in high school, but for the longest time, I think I've been confident that I want to be a pediatric neurosurgeon.
So tell us more about that. Like, what made you choose that path? Did something happen? Like, why that?
I always knew that I wanted to do something in the medical field,
Mhm,
which is interesting because my parents were not STEM people at all. I
mhm,
couldn't even really go to them for help with math if I wanted to when I was growing up. I had to go to my aunt. But yes, so medicine was very important to my family on both sides. My mom's side, they suffer with dementia and Alzheimer's. And then my dad's side, they suffer with heart problems like cardiomyopathy and everything in that realm.
mhm,
But for me, it was when I was a sophomore in high school and I had the opportunity to take an intro to neuroscience class. And I just fell in love with everything in the brain and how it controls so much of our day-to-day life. We don't even realize it. I mean, obviously we know like everything, like during class, everything we're thinking, like the processing, it's in our brain. But I just didn't know how much in depth it could get. And that's
mhm,
something that I really liked. And so then I started looking into all the career choices with neuroscience and there's research. I do like research,
mhm,
not as much as I liked surgery.
mhm.
And so I realized I was like,
Okay.
a brain surgeon, like that would be really cool because it incorporates all the things I want to do. It
Mhm,
still has some aspects of research. It's not primarily research, or
mhm,
it's not only research, but I also get to help other people, like a big
mm,
impact on other people.
mm,
And then pediatrics, I've been going back and forth between whether I want pediatrics or whether I want to do just neurosurgery in general.
mhm,
I think I love being with kids and, like right now I tutor kids on Mondays in math. And so
mhm,
just observing their way their brain functions
mhm,
and then like the abnormalities from kids to kid, it's very
mhm,
interesting to me. And I
mhm,
want to like monitor like the longevity of like brain deterioration, which sounds harsh, but I mean, as we get older, our brain does start to deteriorate. So that's something
mhm.
that's very intriguing to me.
Mm. So it comes from a place of family and then intrigue. Okay. So
Yes.
that I always love to ask people like why? What happened?
Hmm.
What's the
Yeah.
influence? So since you are a freshman, what was your favorite class and why? Yes. Yes, I'll ask the favorite class and why.
Okay. That is a hard one. I want to say It was between my ADW class, African Diaspora of the World, and my honors English class.
How
I
about you
love
just
my
tell us about both? Yes.
Okay, let's go. Let's do it. ADW. All right, where do we even begin? It's an amazing class. It is a lot of reading,
Mhm,
a lot of conversation, but it's intellectually stemming conversation. It's not, I mean, obviously the class is an hour and a half long because it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. So sometimes you're in the back like, all right, let's get out of here. It's time to go. But there are other times when it's like, wow, like this is really interesting because we see the side of history that nobody really talks about, that goes unnoticed because oftentimes a lot of things Black women do or just our Black history in general goes unnoticed. Like I thought I knew everything about Black history. I mean, I took AP African in high school. And so
mhm.
I was like, okay, I already know it. I got to class, I said, okay, I don't know this. It was a whole new, it was like I was entered a whole new world. And then the conversations we have, they connect our history to our modern day times and just
Mm.
it's a very empowering class to sit in as a Black woman because my teacher is also a Black woman. And so I just think that adds a level to it. And then in my English class, I would
Wait,
also
wait, I
say,
wanna go back to the ADW
oh,
class because it
okay.
was, empowering for me too. Actually, the year that
Yes.
I came, it was the first year that they started it,
Oh,
which was
wow.
'93. I'm old.
Okay.
But anyway, what was something that you learned that you didn't know that you were like, "Wow," in that class?
Okay.
Or is it so many things? Okay, just name 3 things then.
It's so many things. I think it's stuff that I knew, but I never like, when you know something, but then like somebody puts it in front of you, you're like, oh wow, I never connected those two pieces.
Mm.
So for me, it was when we had a unit kind of over like the the s- the school to prison pipeline system and how
Wow, y'all going
yeah,
deep now.
we
Okay,
go
we didn't have that.
deep.
Okay, yes.
And it kind of showed how the systems that set up our schooling and like if you look at public schools like when I was being taught it I was looking at the public schools in Atlanta because there are good public schools but there are also not so good public schools and you're looking at the public schools and then you're looking at oh wait because I went to a private school so I didn't really know what like went on in
Mhm,
public school but when she was like naming things I was just like oh we didn't have that in my
mhm,
private school but it was
mhm,
all there in the public school, and I'm like, so I can see how this would connect it to, like, more people going to prison and being influenced with, like, what is prison, what happens in prison, and just being more susceptible to falling into that cycle.
mhm,
On that note, it was also the same thing about police, about
mhm,
how during times of enslavement, you had people riding on horseback, like, catching slaves who were seeking freedom,
mhm,
and how that translated into what we now call our police system, our justice system. And so there's so many discrepancies in there where I was sitting in that class and I was like, wow, they really don't like us. Like they really built these systems up and my teacher would always say it's like it's the same thing. They just named it differently. So we
mhm,
had slavery, then we went
mhm,
to black codes.
mhm,
Then we had
mhm,
segregation, but it was
mhm,
all the same. So I
mhm.
think that was just something that was really fascinating to me.
Okay, I love it. I love it. So now you were saying English. You
Mm,
said your English was
yes.
okay.
My English teacher, shout out Dr. Michelle Height, she
Mhm,
was the best. All the
mhm,
conversations we had in there, it was and I think something that's similar across all classes you take at Spelman is they're all
mhm,
centered around Black women. Like,
mhm,
growing up, going to school, it was just like, I learned this, I learned this, I learned this, and it was all about, like, a European-based history. But
mhm,
now I'm learning stuff from perspectives of Black women, and then, like, about the body, it's about the Black woman's body, like,
mhm,
everything is about Black
mhm,
women.
mhm,
So, if you wanna go to Spelman, you wanna learn more about Black women, that's the place to be. Side
mhm,
note. But my English class, I also liked it because it connected a lot and oftentimes to my ADW class. And there were just so many like conversations in there, like about how the media portrays things that and we consume it and we think that it's good. But then if you look back on our history, it's like they're actually dubbing us. Like
mhm,
it's not something that's positive for it. It might be positive for a white counterpart, but it's not positive for us.
mhm,
An example of that, this might be a little PG-13, but it's like prostitution and stuff like that. So, media has kind of made it to where it's like acceptable these days and like a not as vulgar and has made ways where like you can do it and make money off of it where it's like
Mhm.
you're not like putting yourself at as great of a risk, but it's still the same concept. So
Mhm. Yeah.
those were my top 2 classes last year or last semester for sure.
So it sounds like you are thriving. You have, some of your favorite classes. Are there any things that you may be struggling with? Like, yeah, or if not, what are the most challenging things that are happening in terms of college? And it could be, not just academic, but social stuff or
Yeah,
balancing time or stuff like
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. I mean, even if you're going to the best college for you, you're obviously like there's gonna be something where it's like, "Oh, this is hard, this is challenging." And I
Hmm.
think for Spelman, like as a whole, just
Hmm.
I see this with myself. I talked to my sister about it just in general.
Hmm.
Everyone is the best of the best, high school 4.0, community service, it's like everything. And a lot of people here are poli-sci majors, health science majors, biology majors. So when it comes time for them internships, baby, everybody, you have to learn how to separate yourself from other people because if you're just looking at paper, there's probably 300 other people that have the exact same stack as you. Rules, grades, community service,
Hmm.
internships. And so I think that is absolutely the most challenging part of going to an all-girls school, an all-Black girl school at that. It's learning how to separate yourself from others, but also being in a community at the same time. So for me, I view it as how I show up for others, how I interact with others, because that has more of an impression than what your grades are, you know? So,
I love how you said that.
yeah, those are things that, like, you have to think about. It's like you can't just get up here or get here, get good grades, and then apply for all the organizations that you want to, because even the organizations, that's hard because that's something that's within Spelman, so then, like, it gets harder.
Hmm.
And so that's when you have to learn how to separate yourself, and that's when connections are important, how you talk to other people, how you talk to your professors, and just everything. It's all so
I think that
important.
people miss that, what you're saying. You can't be like crabs in a barrel, and we're not at Spelman. And I think that people just miss this too, just in any college that you go to. It's how you treat other people and how you build relationships. Because you can always get an education and you will get an education, but it's how you treat each other and how you build relationships that will get you the furthest in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I like how you said it, how I show up. You're
Yes.
gonna get those internships. I'm sprinkling it in the future.
Yes, I'm taking all the good
Yes,
sprinkles.
yes, yes. So, what is something that you thought in your head about Spelman, even though you have legacy and all that,
Mhm.
thought in your head, but was different when you actually got there? Was there anything that was different than what you thought,
Yeah.
or was everything exactly what you thought and what people told you?
I don't think everything was exactly what I thought. I'll say the sisterhood.
Mhm,
That's obviously a big reason why people choose Spelman, and it's, like, the main pusher that, like, I'll advocate for. I have some of the greatest friends. I We just met each other last semester, but I have some of the greatest friends. We live on the same hall. We talk
mhm,
to each other every day. We check in on each other.
mhm,
And that is like sisterhood. But, I have a sister. So I know that there are highs and there are also
mhm,
lows. And so there are some times where, navigating these relationships become very difficult because
mhm,
hmm, they become very difficult because you college is all about learning, and you're learning who these people are, you're learning how these people think because not everybody thinks like you. That's another
mhm,
thing. Everybody,
mhm,
at high school, you might have all been raised similarly because you're in the same area.
mhm,
Everybody in college is raised differently, and you
mhm,
have to learn to accept that. And I think
mhm.
that ties in with understanding sisterhood. So it's like my sister and I, we were raised the same, but we still act differently. These
Totally different.
Absolutely. You can ask anybody, "Y'all are sisters?" "Yeah." Um, but that's the thing about, the sisterhood at Spelman, it's like you were raised completely different, and you have to understand that, and that's how, like, that can either help build your relationship with someone, or you can learn that you're like, "Okay, we're too different. We were raised too differently." I don't think there's ever a point where we could come back together, like, solo. but
Mhm.
you're still in this community of all these other people, so you're
Mhm.
gonna find somebody,
Mhm.
like, it's not like, "Oh, I didn't find one sister here, it's
Right.
over." No,
Right.
there is somebody there for everybody to find a sister, to find a community. You can't be passive, you have to go looking for it. So
Ooh.
that's
That's a good point. Like, you have to go looking for it, and then I also feel like too, whatever energy you put out is the kind of sisters or people that will
Mhm,
come towards you. I used to say, like, I used to love A Different World, and that's why I came to Spelman, but I
okay.
sure am not like Whitley. So, I did not attract the Whitleys, and that's okay because,
Mhm.
yeah, that's not my, friendship type. But,
Yeah, they're also, they're bringing back A Different World. They're filming
yeah.
the 3rd through the 5th on campus, so I'm excited. On our right, right. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Don't start coming up to our campus, guys.
Well, this will this this
But
this will
yeah.
show up after. This will show
Okay,
up
then we're safe,
after.
then we're
Okay,
safe.
yes.
Yes, February 3rd
I
through the
am
5th, they're here. Yep, filming again. Yep, stop by.
my gosh. So, are you gonna be walking? Are you
I
gonna be
mean,
walking?
it's not the route that I take to go to class, but I might figure out a way how to fill it in. Yes.
So, do you have any advice that you would, want to tell the people before we get off? Like, what advice would you give to people who are trying to go to college and specifically to Spelman? What advice would you give them if they are
Hmm.
especially from legacy and all of these things?
I think, okay, I have a couple, but I'll say 2.
Okay.
My biggest advice for legacies from one legacy family to another is just making sure that you're doing it for yourself. Because at the end of the day, your right decision can feel wrong in so many ways. But as long as you know that you're doing it for yourself, and this really goes for anything in life, as long as you know that you're doing it for yourself and nobody else, then you're on the right path already because everything's going to be hard. It's not going to be a walk in the park. You're learning so many new things and there's so many levels. It's just you just have to make sure that you know why you're doing it and that you're doing it for yourself. And then whatever the path to get there may be, it might be a hard path, but if you're happy and you're doing it and you're going to get through it. As also if you have community surrounding you. So don't be passive, be active, get that community and make sure you're making the right decision. You want to be where you're going and everything will fall into place.
Okay. So, with that, where can people find you on social media or LinkedIn? Where do you want people to find you?
LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn, guys. That's also something that's very important in college. You'll see everybody Spelman post on their stories once a day. Connect with me, and connect, get those connections up. But yes, find me on LinkedIn, Alise Givens. And yeah,
Okay. So, thank you so much, and we'll see you all on the next episode.
bye. Thank you for having me.
Of course.